Welcome to 3D.sk, human photo reference for 3D artists and game developers. On this site you can find thousands of images, from studio photo reference to street photo reference. We also have a selection of animals on our site. We have some costumes, we have weapons, armor. We also have 3D scans of bodies and heads, clothing, animals, all the aforementioned above, and 3D maps and textures. So in this episode, we're going to be carrying on from what we did in the last episode, which is create the texture for the hair cards, or at least a placeholder texture. We can always change this later and make it similar and improve the texture a little bit with texture resolution and lighting and such. So I'm going to be using the reference that I talked about in the other episodes, which is just this little collage that I've got. So let's go back into 3ds Max and let's start placing hair cards. So first of all, the main concept is you copy one along, you create a copy of it, you move it where you want it to go. So I'm going to be starting with the back of the hair. I'm just going to go to the Photoshop and just look where his back of the hair ends. So it's around about the bottom of his neck. So the first hair card should be placed in a way like so. So when it curves around the head, it's going to end where you want it to end. So let's say about here, because you've got to take into consideration the curves as well. So now I'm just going to select just the line, going to select the edges, and now you're going to see how the WSM modifier can really work to your advantage. The path to form. So I'm just going to kind of place that in there. We might need a bit more of a kind of curve like so. Seems to inverted itself, even though that's not what I want it to do. I think that's because I didn't rotate it. Yes, so you need to make sure that it's facing the right way. So let me just rotate that 180 degrees if it lets me, being a bit dodgy, but there we go. Now we can go back to our line. Should be fairly easy to select. If you can't, you can go to Tools, Layer Explorer. You can get the layers up. And it should be in hair part. Here we go. Should be one of these. You can select it quite easily here. That's what the layers are for. So I'm just going to kind of place it into the head the best I can. So it's kind of like so. From far away that looks like it's inside the head. So now that we've got that curve going, I'm going to move this down a little bit now. You kind of want to move it kind of in line with the head. I'll just go back to my reference. I'm going to see that it's at the back. Have we got a back view? No, we haven't, but we can kind of see what's going on. So it kind of follows the form of his head, but maybe a bit wavy, so maybe we can do something like this to make it a bit wavy. And we can end it kind of there. Now what we can do is we can just hold Control. You can even do this from the side view. You can select them both and then you can copy it along again. And it's going to go to the same layer, which is important. Just going to rotate it a little bit. Move it inwards. Select the line. So it should be line 09. And maybe we can curve this one a bit different. Kind of make them overlap a little bit maybe. But make sure when you're placing these hair cards that you're being very sure that they're not intersecting each other but overlapping each other. That part is quite important. So let's say that I want this one on top of the other. And I move it a little bit out. You move it in a little bit. And have this one kind of going in a similar angle. Maybe if I make it overlap a little bit, it kind of breaks up that kind of the similarities. So we can kind of do this effect. Maybe I can actually move this a bit more kind of over this one, kind of like so, if I can get it to work. So they're like overlapping each other. Do a quick render. Able to see what that kind of looks like. So obviously we're going to have hairs on top of hairs, so it's going to eventually look much better. So what I can do now is I can do the same thing again. I can get this and I can copy it onto the other side. We can rotate it. Kind of do something like that. Once again, I'm going to go into vertex mode on that line, so that should be line 010 or line 10. Kind of move it out. And then kind of move this one into here. Just make sure that they're not intersecting but overlapping. That's very important. So we can build these layers up as much as we like. So I can go in ahead and select line 08 and plane 08. And duplicate that again and make one on top. So you see now that those gaps are starting to disappear. So I can maybe put this one a little bit higher. But we can do that later, as we're going to build up layers later anyway. Alright, now we're just trying to create some kind of hair layer, like underlayer. So we're going to be going all the way around, following this kind of trend of the hair. Because if you look in the reference, his hair kind of goes back. It kind of comes from here and kind of starts going back. So we're going to be kind of following that trend. So I'll do a couple more and then I'll start speeding up the video for this first layer. So just moving them kind of into place, making them overlap a little bit, making them a bit more random. We even put one like so. Actually, I kind of want this one more under the other one. Kind of like this. Move that one a little bit down maybe. The bottom vertex, wherever it's gone. So you can see with this method, you can really place the hairs kind of exactly where you want them. Some of them are kind of merging into the skin, so let's just get rid of that quickly. This one mostly, so let me just select line 10. Kind of maybe move that out a little bit. And you can kind of see what result this has given us. This one is maybe a little bit too in right now. Remember, overlapping but not intersecting. You can get a clearer image to see if they're intersecting by just turning off this and going to clay. And this gives you a good idea whether things are intersecting or not. Move this up. See, it's doing some weird intersection here. I don't really like. I might just move this off to the side a little bit. Go back to line 010. Move this one maybe above this a little bit more. Try and limit the amount of collision to little as possible. Didn't notice how much these were actually. Oops, I selected the wrong thing. And again, because vertex selection got turned off for some reason. Just going to kind of move this kind of in the same kind of way as the others. Get this last one. I'm going to find it. Here it is. Turn on vertex selection. Kind of move this out here a little bit. So it's just about going back and editing. You can spend hours and hours on this, which you probably will end up doing if you want it to look decent. Let's move this one back a little bit. Overlap but not intersect is the important thing. Right, now we can go back to our default shading and have a look how that looks. So that's looking a bit better. Okay, now we can carry on. So I'm just going to select these both with control. Going to move this over here. Actually, I might just choose a new version of this because they're starting to kind of have similarities, if you know what I mean. So every so often you can just kind of start off with a new strand. I'm not using the variants right now just because this is just like an underlayer really. Now I can select off, go to line 012, as soon as I know it's that one. Maybe move this in. Actually, let me go back. Still needs rotating a lot more. Okay, that should be better. It just gives you so much freedom to like place the hairs without, you know, moving the actual mesh using the path to form modifier, which can be really nice. This is way too out. Let me just move that in. You could use local transform, which would change it up a little bit. As you can see, it'd make it kind of more so you're going in the direction of each of the hairs. But it also prevents a lot of variation, so you can kind of switch between it. Whatever you prefer, really. I actually want this one to kind of start curving this way now. Where's that last vertex? Here it is. You can see a massive gap here, so we can fix that quite easily. Overlap but not intersection. I'm maybe gonna make this one a little bit above. You see here that there's too much of a gap. Let's move that in a little bit. Let's have a look. Okay. Let's copy the other side now. Rotate this round. I'm going to move this one over here because it just fits in better here. It needs rotating a little bit more, apparently. Doesn't seem to be working too well. It does need rotating. It's been quite annoying. There you go, it just needs rotating a tiny little bit, like one mark. Now it can be placed a bit better. Yep, there we go. Okay, now let's move this so it doesn't look too much the same as the other one. So maybe like so. Move it in a little bit as well with this, so it doesn't create this gap from the side. Okay, so now that I've given you a basic idea, I'm going to save it and do a quick speed up of doing the rest. So I'll see you in a sec. So now we're back and I've done the main underlayer of the back of the hair. So what we can do now is we can try something to build up some thickness. Oops. We'd actually have to duplicate it all. Hold shift and then select all of it. And you might be able to just duplicate it up. Move it in. This may not work, but we can give it a go. Move it way up. This is kind of a lazy-ish approach. All you could do is you could do that, and then you would build up some thickness. But obviously, we're not going to do that, because then you would just have to go in and change all of them anyway, and it's kind of lazy. So now that we've got this main layer, this is just an underlayer. Now we can start working on the actual hairline. So what we can do now is we can start choosing maybe some different hairs. So maybe we want this one now instead of the other. Move this into place. We can rotate it. Just checking if I made sure that I rotated them all. Looks like I did. Alright. So let's just rotate this into place. Make sure that it's kind of forming up with that. Okay, that's fine. Now we can try and select that line, which is choosing to be quite difficult to pick. So here it is. So I'm just going to select them all and just kind of move it out so I can get all of them in vision. I'm going to move this into place, kind of like here where the hairline is, maybe a little bit below. Bit out. Still needs rotating a little bit, so I can do that. Simple rotate. Might actually turn snaps off so I can get a bit more accuracy. Let's go back to the line. Let's try this again. You might not be able to get it to line up perfectly, but you should be able to get it to line up decently. This bit will be more visible to the outside, so you need to be a bit more careful with where you place the roots. Like so. Okay, and now we can place these on top of the other ones, and it should create some nice depth for us. And some nice color variation and all that good stuff. And also some different lengths and kind of layering. Just have a little look how that looks. You can see that that's kind of overlapping this one now. So we can go again with this piece. Maybe we want to use a different piece, such as this one maybe. You can also do that. Say we want to use this piece, let's rotate it round. Let's move it towards the head. Rotate it a little bit. And start moving the vertexes. Just to create a little bit of variation, we can use this one now. It's a little bit different from that one. A little bit shorter. And it also shows more of the underlayer. as you can see. I'm thinking I might just move it back in a little bit. Okay, move it in. Okay, now maybe we can get this one. Or is that the one we just used? No, I don't think it is. No, it's not. Put this one in the middle of them two and create a bit more variation. So now we're just going to go in, going to place that there, get the edge or the line, I should say, the spline, line, whatever you want to call it. Place this one here. It's just nice to have a bit of variation to kind of break up the duplicates. Did I rotate this round? Yes, I did. You can kind of cover the gap from this one up with this one. You can see how that just creates some nice variation. Some nice little hairs, having some depth. And we'll add depth later to the hairs with texture. So you can see how that looks in the renderer. See how it's just creating some nice like clumps of hair. We still got a lot of gaps, but we can sort that out later. I might actually get all these pieces here. Just kind of move them out and down a little bit. Just so we can create an extra layer on top if we really want to. So we might actually go for a bit more layers, just to kind of build up the hair a bit better. We kind of want to stop that curve now. I'm just going to try and select this, see what line it is. This curve that we've got here, I'm just going to move this in now. See this curve that starts curving downwards? We kind of want to get rid of that and start turning it a bit more straight, so it doesn't curve it in too much. Still have it a little bit, but just not too much. Easy way to select, as I've told you before, is just look at what the plane's name is, and then the line will be the exact same number. So you can always find whichever one you need. Just going to move this one kind of here. Yeah, that's good. Move it down here a little bit. Because I'm noticing the hairs are a little bit thin. So I'll definitely want to make another layer on top of these. I actually want these to be a bit more close together. Like so. Then kind of get the last one that I made, which is plane 18, so it's quite easy to just go line 18 and just choose that one. Just kind of cover up some of the gaps that we have here. So make it a little bit higher. Kind of move it into place. So because this tutorial will take too long if I do the whole hair in this video, because it's rather a choice of speeding up the whole process so you don't even know what to do really, or splitting it into maybe 2, maybe 3 videos for the whole thing, with speed sculpts in there after explaining what I'm going to do. That one's maybe a little bit too out. Just gonna move it in a tiny bit. There's collision going on, so move it up. Okay. Obviously this render isn't perfect, but you can see how this looks, this area, and then once we have overlap, how it looks. Obviously the hairs aren't completely textured, but they're good enough. So let's just put a bit more variation. I just want to get 4 kind of on there so we can start doing it. Gonna get this one, obviously rotate it. Let's move it into place somewhere. Let's say it's kind of on top of these a little bit. Kind of make as many layers as you like, really. It's just depends on you, really. How complex you want the hair. Or how many layers. So I'm just going to do a big select here, make sure I've got it all. Kind of go over and just kind of bring out this. It's not quite a plait, and it's not quite a whole twist. Kind of strange, this one. What's going on here? It doesn't seem to want to, because I've got it on local, I think. Let's turn off local. It's just being a bit funny, which is fine. Just gonna go back and Control Z and see where everything went wrong. Select the plane and the line. Let's move it maybe out so we can see what's going on. Something went wrong there. Maybe it's just this specific one went wrong, but we'll have a look. So I'm gonna move it back here on top like I wanted. Gonna move it over here. Yeah, I don't actually know what went wrong there, but some kind of error. Things will happen like that in 3D all the time. You just gotta go back. If you can work out what it was, then it's helpful, but you don't always have to work it out. Just press Ctrl Z before the problem happened, and it should be fine. So you can see that I've got a bit of wavy hair here. It will help to add that kind of like extra bit of randomness. And you can see how the layers are starting to build up here. So we'll do one more before the video ends, and then we'll save the rest for the next video. So I might do another big one here. This is just so I have all the hairs on here, so if I want to duplicate them, I don't have to go all the way over here and edit them every time. So I'm maybe just going to put a big one here. Select the edge or the line. Let's move it into place somewhere. Move it, let's say here, around about here. The roots should match up okay. Okay. Oh, it's starting to do that strange stuff again. I'll just try and keep this fairly straight then. Move it a bit closer. And just kind of make it overlap the other ones. Maybe add a little bit of a curl here. See how that's rendering out. Okay, so it's looking okay. Obviously we can go back into ZBrush if there's too many gaps in the end. It's starting to look like I'm seeing too much white. But we can put a hair texture on the head so it kind of matches up. Let's just going to go back to this for a sec. Maybe move that in a little bit. Kind of want to move all these kind of into place with this. Like that, yeah. Okay, so I've shown you how to do this, and the next video will probably be a lot more speeding up. I'll be explaining what I'm going to be doing every so often, but the next video will be mostly sped up to save time in videos. But I'll see you in the next tutorial where we'll just be carrying this on, building up layers, and then start styling it a bit more. So see you then. Welcome to the end of this tutorial. Feel free to comment with feedback and suggestions below, and also comment on what you would like to see in future videos. Thanks and goodbye.